Member from Carver, Representative Hoppe.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to move that we take Senate File 444 up off of the table. It was the bill, the omnibus liquor bill that I tabled on Monday.
Hoppe moves that Senate File 444 be taken from the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. Motions prevail. Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to reconsider the A13 amendment.
Torkelson moves that the vote whereby the Hillstrom A13 amendment to Senate File 444, the unofficial engrossment as amended, was adopted be now reconsidered. Discussion. Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Members, I would ask that you vote not to reconsider this amendment, and I would ask for a roll call vote, Mr. Speaker.
Roll call being requested and seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House Research did a short subject on the three-tier liquor system in Minnesota, March of 2015. And there have not been significant changes since that was done. And so I want to make certain that you know and understand why we have the three-tier system for liquor here in Minnesota. Liquor is controlled for a number of reasons. One is to deny access to minors, to limit overconsumption, to ensure public safety via a clean supply, and allow communities control over the type and nature of the liquor venues. Liquor is also regulated as an industry, both to compel the industry to meet public goals of the state and to ensure fair competition. So we have a three-tier system in Minnesota. It's the classic model for liquor regulation, and it creates a three-tier system for supply and distribution. This structure was created after Prohibition in order to modulate the pro-consumption system in place before Prohibition. One aspect of that pre-Prohibition system was the existence of tied houses. Retailers owned by the manufacturers and serving as aggressive sales outlets for those manufacturers. So Minnesota has a much modified version of this three-tiered system. And in a pure three-tier system, manufacturers make the spirits, the beer, and the wine. Wholesalers distribute those across and within the state to retailers, and then retailers sell those to consuming public. But there are other models for regulating the sales of alcoholic beverages. Some states are control states. Minnesota didn't want to go there, where wholesalers, 18 states, and retailers, 14 states, are operated in whole or in part by the state. The other 32, including Minnesota, are licensed states. We allow sales, for the most part, through independent licensed businesses. In Minnesota, municipal liquor stores do exist at the discretion of the local municipality, but otherwise government doesn't own the system. We license them. But we have exceptions to the three-tier system in Minnesota. We're not pure. The state has granted numerous exceptions, which has created and modified this three-tier structure. Some exceptions that apply to manufacturers, breweries, brew on-premises stores. These stores allow consumers to be manufacturers of beer or wine for private use. We also have some exceptions for wholesalers. Non-primary source state, Minnesota is the only non-primary source state, which means that the wholesaler does not have to purchase all products directly from the manufacturer, but can instead buy the manufacturer's products from third parties, essentially other wholesalers on the global market. Some other exceptions that apply to retailers, municipal and non-municipals. Minnesota allows municipal liquor stores to operate as a monopoly and also to allow local governments to license multiple private stores, creating two different retail systems. Bed and breakfast establishments can sell up to 2 glasses of wine with a stay at their establishment without a license. 3.2% malt liquor has a separate sales provision, including allowing sales at grocery stores and convenience stores. Culinary classes are allowed to serve limited amounts of alcohol. There are some other exceptions that apply to more than one tier. Brew pubs, farm wineries, small brewers. Small brewers can now sell growlers at their tap rooms. Tap rooms and cocktail rooms, brewers can now sell their beers in tap rooms, and small distillers can sell their liquor in cocktail rooms. Wine over the internet, Minnesota allows the purchase and direct shipment of 2 cases of wine from a winery over the internet, and also allows Minnesota wineries to sell 2 cases to a given consumer by allowing these manufacturers to act as direct retailers. The creation of the 3-tier system over 75 years ago acted as a regulatory channel, directing investments into business that thrived within the regulatory tiers was created. The weakening of the 3-tier system has allowed new businesses to come into being, and the modification of regulatory scheme can create business channels that in some instances weaken other business investments. Arguments to modify the 3-tier system are as old as the system itself. Usually we see modifications that come as part of negotiations that people participate in, both sides. And we saw, and you have handouts that are coming around, a nice thick packet. First are the newspaper articles from March of 2013 when the last agreement was made. On page 3 of that, the Minnesota Brewers Association worked closely with the Minnesota Licensed Beverage Association to find compromise in raising the growler production limit, and Minneapolis brewery employees seem generally optimistic. That's the first quote. The second article, and I quote, "Our goal is to amend the law and raise the annual production cut-off threshold. We are not seeking to expand the time or place we can sell growlers or the amount of them that we can sell." Again, 2013. 2013 again, an article. The Minnesota Brewers Association, different from the Minnesota Craft Brewers Guild, the quote is, "This group isn't trying to change the limit on growler sales. 500 barrels a year seems to be enough." Members, I then included my comments when this amendment was adopted. And I made it very clear about how much alcohol are we talking about here. The change to 40,000 barrels equals 550,400 cases of beer. Again, that is the entire consumer base of the Bemidji market, 90% of the consumer base in the Brainerd market, and 70% of the total consumer base in the Duluth market. Members, I believe that this amendment should not be reconsidered. I believe that this body voted to take these provisions out because they were not part of the compromise. I believe that folks should be working together on these issues, and they should not be partisan. Now, one might say, well, one side only wants to benefit the other side. Minnesota has an interest in having a 3-tier system and regulated. Now, if you want to go to a different regulation model, that's completely a different conversation to have. But I also included a new piece of information that I just received today. A letter went out on May 12th of 2017 for a new group, the Minnesota Marketplace Alcohol Alliance. You can see the new sign-up sheet and the goals and the mission. Members, this amendment is just step 1 based on this information right here in the deregulation of alcohol in Minnesota. Now, if that's the direction you want to go, that's not the direction I want to go, and I would ask members to vote no, and I'd ask, again, I asked for that roll call.
Roll call being requested, and seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Member from Hennepin, Representative Dean R.
Mr. Speaker, point of parliamentary inquiry.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
I believe that when a member asks for something to be reconsidered, are they needed to vote in favor of that consideration or in the winning side of that consideration?
Representative Dim, yes, they must vote on the
Okay,
side
then
of the prevail.
I would like to ask Representative Torkelson if he'd yield to a question.
Representative Torkelson is not on the floor.
I can
Representative
wait.
Dean.
Mr. Speaker,
Representative Kresha,
point of parliamentary inquiry.
state your point of parliamentary inquiry.
I just want to make sure I heard that right. You have to vote with the prevailing side, not necessarily in favor of it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Representative Kresha, you must vote for the prevailing side.
Mr. Speaker, point of parliamentary inquiry.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
Is it acceptable to ask someone how they voted on a bill?
Representative Kresha, there was not a recorded vote, and so based upon that, we must honor the intention for those that stood or did not stand on that vote. Member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. In spite of not being required to, I'm happy to acknowledge that I did vote on the prevailing side.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion to the motion to reconsider. Member from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I have to rise in support of Representative Hillstrom's plea to not support the motion to reconsider. She's absolutely right. We have been taking steps year after year after year since I've been here, and I haven't been here very long, to change the way we regulate liquor in Minnesota, and for good reason. There's some really impressive and exciting, innovative businesses that are springing up around the state. However, if we are going to change the way that we regulate liquor in Minnesota, we have to do it in a global way. We have to look at the entire industry and not choose winners and losers in this situation. We have to work to protect our Main Street retailers. These guys are small business owners in our communities as well. And we can't come to the table with a proposal that puts their businesses at risk in order to benefit other businesses. The fact is these businesses in Minnesota can thrive, and they have thrived, and congratulations. Happy to have contributed to some of their success, frankly. But here's the point. We can't keep pushing and pushing and pushing the boundaries without bringing the parties together in a responsible way to talk about how everyone's business is going to be impacted by the changes that are being proposed. That hasn't happened, unfortunately, with this bill, and so the motion to reconsider is ill-advised. The body got it right. And so I urge members to vote to not reconsider.
The member from Carver, Representative Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, Mr. Speaker and members, I would encourage members to support Representative Torkelson's motion. We have made, since I've been here, and we will continue to make changes in our state's liquor laws. And again, it's not because any of us want it, even though some of us might. It's because the citizens of Minnesota, their tastes are changing, times are changing. What our citizens, what our constituents want keeps changing. Having said that, what I would like to do, and Representative Hillstrom is my friend and I enjoy working with her, but I would like to have her amendment off, take this bill to conference. The bill that will come back is not going to be substantively different than current law. We're going to make a little bit of change. What I'd really like to do is get this to a point where we can all agree for the health of the brewing industry, and so that we don't have to have this argument all the time, get a final number. This is what it is. In the eyes of the state of Minnesota, when you get to, right now the number is 40,000. Senator Dames is at 20,000. What I'd like to do is find some place where we can stop and we agree that we are going to have a liquor bill in succeeding years, but I would like to not have the discussion about how many barrels makes you a small beer brewer in the state of Minnesota. Please let me take this bill to conference. Let's see if we can get that to work out. Please support the Torkelson motion. Thank you, members.
Further discussion? Seeing none, a roll call being requested, the clerk will take the roll on the motion to reconsider the Hillstrom A13 amendment. Clerk will close the roll. Ward votes no. There being 77 ayes and 54 noes, the motion to reconsider the A13 Hillstrom amendment prevails. Clerk will report the Hillstrom amendment.
Hillstrom moves to amend Senate File Number 444. The unofficial engrossment as follows, and the amendment is coded A13.
I call upon the member from Hennepin, Representative Hillstrom, to introduce her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my amendment simply deletes Section 3, 4, 5, and 6 from the bills. Members, we debated this bill. The majority of members of this body voted in favor of this amendment. Members, you have in writing the copy of the speech that I gave on the floor about why to do that, and so I won't go through that. Members, you are making a choice today. You're not voting on some supposed proposal that Representative Hoppe might bring back from conference. You are choosing today whether you are voting in favor of these limits or not. And so, Mr. Speaker, I would ask for a roll call vote.
Roll call being requested, and seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Further discussion? Member from Carver, Representative Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. And like Representative Hillstrom, I think we went over this the other day. I won't belabor this. And with all respect, because I consider Representative Hillstrom a valued colleague and a friend, but I would encourage members to cast a red vote on the Hillstrom amendment. Thank you.
Discussion to the A13 amendment. Member from Hennepin, Representative Loon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I really hope you will not support the A13 amendment. We've had a few changes to our liquor laws, long overdue over the past few years. And every step of the way, the MLBA and others have tried to block it, even though they may not admit it now. I authored the taproom bill in 2011 to allow small craft brewers to start up and try to build a base of support by serving glasses of their own beer in a taproom at their brewery in 2011. And you would have thought the sky was going to fall. And that is the case with every time we try to make a little adjustment. The three-tier system is still intact, still alive and well. But small adjustments in our liquor laws have created a booming industry. We make beer here in Minnesota, lots of it, again. We're one of the top 10 states in the nation. And that has happened with the advent of the taproom bill. This has been good for not only craft beer makers, it's good for farmers. It's been good for the commercial real estate industry in the state of Minnesota. It is good for employees that work in those businesses, for people who make the equipment. Small distillers have started up trying to do the same thing. And it's helped distributors as well. Representative Hoppe has presented some great information that the number of licenses for wholesalers has gone up, the number of licenses for retail off-sale liquor stores has gone up, the number of Teamsters serving those businesses has gone up. This has not decimated the industry. Providing some choice that has helped small businesses grow and thrive in Minnesota has been good for everybody associated with the liquor industry here. So please don't be concerned about the folks who are constantly saying no to change. Change has brought jobs, and it's brought us to a point we were making things again in Minnesota. Please vote no.
Further discussion. Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And just to respond, members, I have been in support of many of the changes to the liquor laws that we've had before us. Surly came from my district. Senator Scheid actually has, she's my senator, we worked on a number of these proposals together. Surly actually has a room named after her upon her death. So this isn't about being against change. This is about making certain that those who are impacted by these change actually have a say, and making certain that the changes that we're making are not undoing the regulation that we have put in place to ensure there will not be corruption in the system. There was a time in Minnesota where liquor was run in a different way. You could make it, you could ship it, and you could sell it. That is not a time we would like to go back to here. So members, I would encourage you to support the proposal. Representative Hoppe did not have this proposal in his bill in Commerce when he brought his bill to Commerce. This was offered as an amendment to his bill, and it was adopted on a strictly party line vote in Commerce. And that's not usually the way liquor bills are done in this body.
Representative Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Hillstrom, I apologize. I didn't mean to get up after you, but Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to let people know, because we did a little bit of a different procedure here in taking the bill off the table, and I just wanted to make sure that people knew what we're voting for here. And I feel a little bit like on Monday I didn't do a good enough job of explaining to people what we were looking at and why. So with respect, again, I would encourage members to vote no on the Hillstrom amendment.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Anderson S.
Thank you, members, Mr. Speaker, and members. I would encourage you to vote no on the Hillstrom amendment as well, because what you are voting for, if you vote for the Hillstrom amendment, is that you're saying that Minnesota Made is not as good as the national, international outfits out there. You are choosing the competitors of the national level over the Minnesota Made products here in this state. And I wish that Representative Rukavina was here today, because he was our king of Minnesota Made. I won't tell you what he said all of his articles of clothing were Minnesota Made. I think that was a little too much information that he would offer sometimes on the House floor. But I will tell you that what we're doing here today is we're promoting Minnesota businesses. We're promoting job growth here in the state of Minnesota. And I am never more proud when I can walk into a liquor store and buy a Minnesota-made beer. And this is not going to change the fact that you're going to be walking into these liquor stores and buying those products in those liquor stores. All it says is that business, those that are making their own product, they can sell a very small, minute amount out of their shop, the product that they made. We're talking about 1.8% out of their product that they would be able to sell. So folks, if you support Minnesota businesses over the big conglomerates, if you're for the little guy, you're going to vote no against this amendment.
Further discussion. Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Members, my provision deletes new language and leaves current law as it is. Leaves current law as it is. It doesn't stop anyone from selling growlers they can currently sell. It doesn't stop anyone from selling any alcohol they currently sell. It just says we're not going to go to these larger amounts.
There being no further discussion, a roll call being requested. The clerk will take the roll on the A13 amendment. Clerk will close the roll. There being 57 ayes and 74 nays, the amendment is not adopted. There's another amendment at the desk. Clerk will report the amendment.
Loeffler moves to amend Senate File Number 444, the unofficial engrossment, as follows, and the amendment is coded A17-0460.
Representative Loeffler, you have an amendment to your amendment. Would you like to take that up first?
Sure, that would be fine, Mr. Speaker. That would be the A17. I don't have the number here yet. It hasn't come out
Clerk
yet.
will report the amendment to the amendment.
Loeffler moves to amend her amendment to Senate File Number 444, the unofficial engrossment, and the amendment to the amendment is coded A17-0462.
Call upon the member from Hennepin, Representative Loeffler, to introduce her amendment to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, this deals with a totally different topic, and that is about the special authority that we're giving to the Department of Administration to, on special occasions, have liquor provided within the Capitol complex. And the amendment to the amendment before us would make sure that Minnesota products are being sold not just in the cafeteria, where it's also allowed under this bill, but also anywhere on the Capitol. Elsewhere in the bill, there's a provision that for the Super Bowl with the St. Paul Ice Castle, that they would be allowed to have a concession on the Capitol grounds under strict rules from the Department of Administration. That would be able to sell liquor products on the grounds of the Capitol and other places. This would simply say that it should be Minnesota products being sold at our Capitol for these special events. We have farm wineries, we have tap rooms and distilleries, we have breweries throughout our state that would like to have their products featured at the grand celebration of the Capitol reopening and the celebration of the Super Bowl. I'd urge your support.
Discussion to the amendment to the amendment. The member from Carver, Representative Hoppe.
Mr. Speaker, members, thank you. Members, I would like to thank Representative Loeffler for all of her work on this issue, and I would encourage a green vote on her amendment.
Further discussion to the amendment to the amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the amendment to the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion prevails and the amendment to the amendment is adopted. Members, we are now on to the amendment, Loeffler amendment, the 0460. Representative Loeffler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, this amendment expands the use of capital liquor revenues. We don't think there's going to be a lot of it, but right now in the current bill, it is dedicated to capital preservation. And I think we've all really appreciated the capital preservation efforts and the restoration of our Capitol. This would add the words "and programming," so it would be capital preservation and programming. One of the goals of the Capitol restoration was that we would have new spaces available to the public that would increase the public's interest in visiting the Capitol, not just once, but throughout the year. And many of us have gone up to the third floor galleries and seen changing art exhibits. That's going to be an increasing part of inviting people to come in throughout the year to display Minnesota art and stories related to Minnesota. And while so far administration, which has been in charge of this, has been successful in getting some museums and artists to loan their art to us, what we have found is that some artists and some museums will require a small insurance policy to loan it to us for free. And we also think there needs to be some signage, so when you first walk into the first floor of the building, it says, please come up to the third floor galleries. Today we're featuring, and gives people some basic information. So it's just some minor costs that we think will help the public rediscover and discover anew the new opportunities to see new experiences within our Capitol building. And I've talked to all the members of the Capitol Preservation Commission, except the Speaker, because he's been a little busy, and all of them, both Republican and Democrat, have agreed that this would be a good thing to do, and the Department of Administration agrees as well. With that, I'd answer questions and appreciate your support.
Discussion to the amendment. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the amendment as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion prevails and the amendment as amended is adopted. There's another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Howell moves to amend Senate File Number 444, the unofficial engrossment as amended, and the amendment is coded A10.
Call upon the member from Stearns, Representative Howe, to introduce his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In A10, what that does is allow all jurisdictions to be able to adopt an ordinance to allow in their jurisdiction to allow liquor establishments to stay open till 4 a.m. during the Super Bowl, much the same as we have for Hennepin and Ramsey County. So in the bill, you've got an exemption for Hennepin and Ramsey County to be able to stay open until 4 a.m. This would allow all jurisdictions throughout the state to extend their hours till 4 a.m. if they so choose, only during that period of time. Different from what I had in committee. I had a different amendment in committee, but this narrows the scope and it just allows everyone to enjoy that time if their jurisdictions decide to do so.
Discussion to the A10 amendment. Member from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise to encourage members to oppose this amendment. I appreciate the author trying to narrow the scope, but the fact is we are taking great liberties with our liquor laws in Minnesota, and this is a really important one. Science has shown us again and again and again in the United States and across the world that the more hours that you have intoxicating substances available for purchase, the greater amount of addiction and cost to your system you will have. And so saying that this is just something that localities can choose from locality to locality is very concerning. We did, I believe, have some discussion about public safety with regard to this as well. The State Patrol happened to be there that day. We discussed this in committee, and our Department of Public Safety has great concerns with allowing additional hours of operation anytime year-round. So I oppose this amendment.
Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And DPS Department of Public Safety was opposed to this at that time. They have indicated to me that although they aren't in favor of it, but they are not strictly opposed to it, they said that they could work with this as long as it's just for that spirited time and that weekend.
The member from Pope, Representative Anderson.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. And would Representative Howe stand for a quick question?
He will yield. Representative Anderson.
Representative, you talk about the opening hours being during the Super Bowl. Are you talking about the entire week of Super Bowl or the weekend or the Sunday that the game is on?
Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Anderson and members, the time period would be the same as it's open for Hennepin and Ramsey. It would be, I believe, that Thursday to Sunday.
Further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the A10 amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? No. Motion prevails. Clerk will report the amendment.
Howe moves to amend Senate File Number 444, the unofficial engrossment as amended, and the amendment is coded A11.
Representative Howe, to your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The A11 amendment.
Mr. Speaker, point of parliamentary procedure. I asked for a division. Did you not hear me on that last vote?
The gavel had fallen, Representative Clark.
I don't think it had.
Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The A11 amendment, in the city of Cold Spring, we have a ballpark that's very active. They've won a number of amateur state championships. They sell beer there, but they can only sell 3-2 beer. What they'd like to do, what this amendment lets them do is...
Mr. Speaker.
Representative Dabney.
Point parliamentary inquiry.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, when a voice vote is taken by the body and the speaker has not brought the gavel down and a member requests a division, what is the proper way to get the speaker's attention besides the custom and usage of the body of asking for that from the speaker?
Representative Dabney, a division being requested, we will revert back to the division on that vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All those in favor? All those in favor of the Howe amendment on the A10, please rise. There being 82 ayes, the motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Clerk will report the next amendment.
Howe moves to amend Senate File Number 444, the unofficial engrossment as amended. The amendment is coded A11.
Member from Stearns, Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The A11 amendment, what it does is allows the city of Cold Spring to issue a strong beer license to the ballpark. They have an active ballpark. They sell beer there, but it's only 3-2. They would like to sell the local beer, 3rd Street Brew, at their ballpark. This will allow them to do so. Thank you, members. I ask for your support.
Discussion to the A11 amendment. Member from Carver, Representative Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, I think this is a good amendment. I would encourage a green vote. Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the A11 amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There is another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Omar moves to amend Senate File Number 444, the unofficial engrossment as amended, and the amendment is coded A12.
I call upon the member from Hennepin, Representative Omar, to introduce her amendment.
Thank you. And thank you, Chair Hoppe, for working with me on this amendment. This is a simple amendment. This amendment will give the City of Minneapolis the authority to be able to issue a class liquor license to the proposed Malcolm Yards Market Food Hall. It is an innovative, a new food hall that's being put in, and with this, the City of Minneapolis would be able to issue that liquor license. And after the amendment passes and this bill passes, the City of Minneapolis will do an ordinance to further allow this. So I ask for your support. This is really needed in order for this food market to take shape. Thank you.
Member from Carver, Representative Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, I think it's a great amendment. Please vote green. Representative Omar, thanks for bringing it.
Further discussion to the A12 amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor of the A12 amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. Motions prevail. The A12 is adopted. There is another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Nash moves to amend Senate File Number 444, the unofficial engrossment as amended, and the amendment is coded A14.
Call upon the member from Carver, Representative Nash, to introduce his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is a compromise amendment working with many stakeholders, but this is on behalf of the distillers in our state, many of whom you have in your district, all of whom are trying to go from, as they say, from grain to glass. They're trying to employ local folks, and this just gives them the ability to sell bottles up to 750 milliliters out of their facilities, and I would appreciate your vote.
Discussion to the A14 amendment. Member from Carver, Representative Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, again, I think this is a good amendment. Please vote green.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the A14 amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. Amendment is adopted. There being no further amendments at the desk, the clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 444, as amended.
Discussion to the bill. Member from Carver, Representative Hoppe.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker and members, I know this has been a little bit of an unusual path this week for the bill. I appreciate your support and would encourage a green vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Clerk will close the roll. There being 79 ayes and 54 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to.